Last night, it was Shane Victorino hitting a solo home run in the 6th inning off Kyle McClellan. That gave the Phillies a 3-0 lead. He would later drive into Carlos Ruiz to make it 4-2 Phillies, and then Raul Ibanez put it away with a grand slam. That made it 9-2 for the Phillies, a 6-run 8th inning for Philadelphia. Ryan Madson came on to the 9th inning, got the last 3 outs, and the Phillies win their 5th consecutive National League East division title. Didn't celebrate after they clinched a playoff spot. They did celebrate after they won the NL East. The Cardinals, meanwhile, after the Atlanta loss earlier today, are now 4 back of the Braves for the National League wildcard race. And let's not forget about the Giants. They won again today, hit 6 home runs. So still some drama in the NL wildcard race. Hi, everybody. Dan Shulman along with Bobby Valentine and Oral Hershiser. Bobby, let's start with you and the Cardinals. 4 games back with a week and a half to play. That's a big mountain to climb. Do the Cardinals have a shot?
They do have a shot. They have a shot because the guy who's been at their helm for 16 years, Tony La Russa, knows how to get them there, and he's got to lead them to the finish line. And what he has to do is rely on a guy who's going for his 11th consecutive year of having 30 home runs and 100 RBIs and a 300 batting average, and that's Albert Pujols. He needs to put this team on his back and get them to the finish line.
Now the Phillies, they have crossed their first finish line. They've got some more they want to cross. So at the beginning of the season, all the talk for the Phillies was about the starting pitching, and that has been the case through the season. Roy Halladay, Cliff Lee, and tonight's starter Cole Hamels.
Yeah, the 3 aces, you know, on the top of the mound. Halladay, unbelievable with movement. Then Cliff Lee, he'll catch up with his fastball. But this guy on the mound tonight, Cole Hamels, he's got the changeup. He's thrown it in 2-strike counts over 200 times, 204 to be exact, and only given up 6 hits. In 2007, he was an all-star. This year, he's an all-star. He's the 3rd ace on this team. He will probably be the 3rd starter in the playoffs, but they lose nothing in ability when they get to number 3.
The pitchers have been outstanding. Some would say the position player who's been the MVP for the Phillies this year is Shane Victorino. He's down on the field with our Buster Olney.
Dan here with Shane Victorino. After you guys clinched last night, you waited for Hunter Pence before popping open the champagne. Why?
I just think, obviously, lucky for us, fortunate for some of us, we've been to postseason. We've won, we've won the division, for a 5th straight year. But a guy like Hunter, who's never got the opportunity to play in the postseason, for instance, last year, Roy Halladay coming over, give them their welcoming to what it's like to be in the postseason, and what they mean to us as a team. What these guys bring to us, bring to the table every day. Go out there and what better way to let them open the first bottle and celebrate and start the celebration.
The 2011 Phillies have won more games than any Phillies team you'd been on. Compare this team to past Phillies teams.
Well, you know what I mean. You have to start with the pitching. I mean, obviously the starting staff has been unbelievable. All the hype, all the talk about them going to season. Obviously, they went out there and lived up to the hype, lived up to the expectations. So we'll start there. But you know what? Collectively, I think just everybody, injuries, guys getting an opportunity to go out there and play. We're at 98 wins now. You know what? We got to keep going. We got 12 more left, and hopefully we can get to over 100, and hopefully set a franchise record with 102 wins.
Shane, thanks. Pedro?
Jason, the new closer for the Cardinals. It's been about a month now, but more importantly, the Braves. They lost today. You were watching the game. How closely are you guys watching them?
We follow what they're doing, stuff like that, because, it is a close race to us. But also we have to go out there and we have to worry about ourselves and win our ball games before we can worry about what they're doing. But, they lost today. If we can win, we can gain some ground, and that's what it's all about with, a little over a week to go.
Major League best 0.31 ERA since the All-Star break. What has been the difference?
I really don't know. I'm going out there just trying to be aggressive, throw strikes, mix it up, whether it's, in, out, throwing my 2-seamer more, throwing my cutter a little bit more. And we got guys like Yachty and Gerald Laird out there who have confidence in my other pitches. And it's just going out there and having faith in them because they've been back there the whole game, and just going out there and just, trying to get the guys out. That's about it.
All right, Jace, thanks. Good luck tonight. Dan, back to you.
Pedro, thank you very much. Also coming up on the show tonight, we'll handicap the National League Cy Young Award race. A couple of Phillies, and Roy Halladay and Cliff Lee are right in on that. Baseball tonight goes around the majors and gets you caught up on all the latest divisional and wild card races. And as good as they are, what are the questions facing the Phillies as they head into another postseason? 3rd game of 4 between the Cardinals and the Phillies from Citizens Bank Park. Cole Hamels on his way in from the bullpen to get it started when we come back. Welcome to ESPN's presentation of the Hunt for October.
You don't just throw it together any old which way. You need exactly just the right ingredients, the right mix, the highest quality. The right recipe for success. It's no accident.
Can't think Philly without thinking cheesesteaks. Welcome back to Citizens Bank Park. Another sellout here on this Sunday night as the National League East Division champion, the Philadelphia Phillies, go for their 99th win of the season. They take on a Cardinal team desperate for victories right now as they try to close the gap on the Atlanta Braves, the team 4 games ahead of them in the wild card race. 16th season at the helm of the Cardinals for Tony La Russa, and even 1,400 wins as manager of the St. Louis Cardinals. Let's check out the starting lineup for the Cardinals tonight. Presented by Taco Bell. Ryan Theriot leads it off at second base. Alan Craig is in right field tonight. Albert Pujols at first base batting third. David Freese, who hits lefties very well, is the cleanup hitter. Lance Berkman in left field tonight. Matt Holliday is injured again. Yadier Molina catching into batting sixth. Rafael Furcal at short batting seventh. John Jay in center field hitting eighth. And Chris Carpenter is pitching into batting ninth. Against Mr. Hershiser, a guy with one of the best changeups in all of baseball, Cole Hamels.
And it's been outstanding this year. Cole Hamels has been a rock for this foundation of this Phillies rotation. And when you do that, you go deep into games like his two partners, Cliff Lee and Roy Halladay, and you see the top three, 16 starts, 7 innings pitched, or 2 earned runs or less. I'll tell you what, he has been outstanding.
Not a bad number 3 starter with the kind of seasons that Roy Halladay and Cliff Lee have had. Here's your number 3 guy, who's a former NLCS and World Series MVP. Hamels looks for his 15th win of the season here tonight. Theriot steps in for the Cardinals, and we are ready to go here in Philadelphia. And a strike called by home plate umpire Gary Darling. Theriot began the season as the regular shortstop for the Cardinals after the acquisition of Furcal, became a part-time player and mostly a second baseman. There's that cutter from Hamels Oro with that good down and in movement under the hands of a right-handed hitter.
He has a very good cutter like Cliff Lee, has an outstanding changeup.
Liner to center field. It'll hang up long enough for Victorino to make the grab one down.
I tell you what, the scouting report on Cole Hamels given by Charlie Emanuel is you'll know if he's going to be on his game if he's down to start and up when he wants to be. If he starts up and has to worry about getting the ball down, that's a tough spot. Cole Hamels, the first 2 pitches were down, but the last one was a fastball that kind of snuck up on him. You see at the top of the strike zone, got hit hard, fortunately right at Victorino.
Now Alan Craig. And he lashes the first pitch into the left field corner. Craig, who's getting a chance to play more with Halladay out with an injury, has himself a 1-out double.
Well, again, slightly up down the middle. And Craig attacking a little lower than the pitch to Theriot, but this one right down the heart of the plate. And you can't second guess right down the middle early in the game. You've already gotten it out. You're just trying to get ahead, but attack when you're the hitter and put a good swing on it.
So the Cardinals are up there swinging the bats in the early going tonight. A line drive to center field. Theriot retired, and then a double by Craig on the first pitch, and here's Albert Pujols. First pitch swinging, demolishes one to deep left field for home run number 36 on the season, and an early 2-0 lead for St. Louis.
Before the game, Earl, you asked Tony La Russa, will Albert get his 100th RBI? He said if he gets pitches to hit, he got a fastball in on the inside part of the plate. He wasn't waiting around. 2 more RBIs to get to 95. And that ball was no doubt off the bat. And he's going to try to carry this team to the finish line. Here's a little cutter in, half of the ball on the plate, half of it off of the plate. Albert could do that as well as anyone. Keep it fair and watch it leave.
Now David Freese takes high ball 1. Pujols was just 3 for 20 lifetime against Hamels. Before that at bat had been retired in his last 13 at bats against Hamels. But went up there chasing the first pitch and crushed it to left field. And sometimes you say no doubter, but there might have been a little bit of doubt. There was no doubt about that one.
Only if the wind was blowing left to right to push it foul. It wasn't going to happen.
Something had to give with his failure to produce against Cole Hamels, but he is the highest batting average of active players in this ballpark, Citizens Bank, at 351 before that at bat.
A good changeup down and away. Swung on, foul tip. Strike three. Freeze has gone 2 down. Defensively for the Phillies tonight, Raul Ibanez is in left. Shane Victorino in center field. Hunter Pence, what an impact he's had on the Phillies. He's in right. Polanco at third. Rollins at short. Utley at second. Ross Glode at first. Ryan Howard out with that nagging ankle problem. And Brian Schneider will do the catching tonight. So most of the regulars in for the Phillies the night after they clinch. There's a swing and a miss at a first pitch changeup. Lance Berkman is the batter. Berkman this year has played mostly right, a little left, some first. And as you can see, has had a big year. Really got off to a huge start for the Cardinals. And as good a hitter as there was in baseball in the month of April. He chases that pitch and the count is 0-2. Now without Matt Holliday, and Holliday's out with a finger injury, suffered in a weird play, just swinging the bat in the on deck circle. They need Pujols, Bobby. They need Berkman too. They
do need Berkman, and as you see, he's number 3 in OPS in the league. He's still a very big threat from both sides of the plate, and I think he'll finish strong in these last 10 games.
Well, one of the things that gives you a second wind as an everyday player is when the temperature starts to drop, and we've got that kind of night here in Philadelphia. It gives you a little bit of a refresher.
A little chopper foul up the third base line.
You make it through August and all the heat. You're not able to DH in the National League at all. Berkman been out there grinding away. But he seems fresher and more lively, and especially with the fact that the Cardinals still in it.
Atlanta losing to the Mets earlier today, 7-5. That helps out the Cardinal cause. The game was on in Tony La Russa's office when we went in to visit with him before the game. It was the 8th inning, 6-5, nail-biting time of that game, and Tony, as you can imagine, was involved. Said it's harder to watch another game on TV than it is to manage one of his own. Swing and a miss. Berkman is gone, and the inning is over. But a good start for the Cardinals and an early lead for Chris Carpenter. As the big right-hander makes his way out to the mound. A couple of runs on the board for the Cardinals in the top of the first. Thanks to the guy who's been doing it better than anybody over the last 11 years, Albert Pujols, with home run number 36. ESPN Sunday Night Baseball is presented by Taco Bell. Think outside the bun. And in part by Mazda. We believe if it's not worth driving, it's not worth building. Welcome back to Philadelphia. Cool evening here. Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN. Third game of a 4-game series between the Cardinals and the Phillies. 2-0. St. Louis already on the home run by Albert Pujols. Here's the lineup for the Phillies, presented by Taco Bell. Jimmy Rollins, Shane Victorino, Chase Utley in the top third of the lineup. Hunter Pence hitting cleanup tonight. Ryan Howard is not in the lineup tonight. Raul Ibanez batting 5th. Placido Polanco hitting 6th. Ross Glode filling in for Ryan Howard at first base. Brian Schneider is the catcher. Nicole Hamels is on the mound against right-hander Chris Carpenter. 9-9 on the season. First pitch swinging. Jimmy Rollins skies one, and staggering a little bit of it, making the catch is Molina for out number 1.
Chris Carpenter, a staff leader, a leader on and off the field, and if you're Tony La Russa, this is a night you need him to win and step up. He has gone deep into games throughout the year, 6.9 innings per start, and you see he is right in there behind Kershaw, Lee, and Halladay.
36 years of age, a former Cy Young Award winner and an ERA champ. Recently signed a 2-year extension with the Cardinals as Victorino looks at a stride.
And at 9-9, you have to wonder, pitching 213 innings, why doesn't have more decisions? And Tony mentioned before the game, he really had lousy luck early for a long string of games. Leaving with the score tie, pitching 0-0 games and having to be pinch hit for here in the National League. Only 9 wins, 213 innings.
25 guys in the big leagues have over 200 innings. He is the second oldest, but they reward him with an extension because he still really is their ace and their leader.
Victorino was jammed and fights it off foul. Carpenter had an option for next year at $15 million, and I guess the Cardinals made it known to him they did not want to pick up that option, but they were willing to talk about a 2-year deal, but for a lower average salary. So they gave him $21 million over 2 years, $10.5 million per year. So the Cardinals save some money next year. Carpenter gets 1 more year of security. And he wants to retire at Cardinal. He has been a huge part of their success over the last 7 or 8 years and has a very special feeling about playing in a city like St. Louis, where baseball is so important and the people are so passionate about the sport.
Well, they step out and they sign him up for 2 years. That starts the ball rolling towards who else will sign here.
Anybody in particular you're thinking of?
Well, maybe the guy standing at first base. They've just got the 2-run homer. Mr. Pujols will be a huge decision for himself and the Cardinals.
The 2-2 on the way, and a chopper over the mound to his right. Terrio, and can't get enough on the throw. Wide of the bag. It'll be an infield hit for Victorino. Gives us a chance now to take a look at the Cardinal defense tonight. Lance Berkman's in left, John Jay in center, Alan Craig, who started in 5 different positions this year, is in right field. Left side of the infield, David Freese and Rafael for call. Right side of the infield, Ryan Terrio and Albert Pujols. And Yadier Molina, who is catching every day right now. Every game so important for the Cardinals. Desperately in need of wins. Again, Atlanta lost today 7-5 to the Mets. So at the moment, the Cardinals are 4 games back of the Braves for the National League wildcard spot. Here's Chase Utley. Recently back from a concussion. Came back on Thursday. Missed a week. Was earlier in the season all kinds of knee problems. So it has not been a vintage Chase Utley season. And one of the reasons why, Bobby, the offense for the Phillies, it's been good, but it's been inconsistent. It hasn't been as good as it's been in recent years.
It's been better since Hunter Pence got here.
Utley pulls a base into right field.
And if Utley is healthy, it is a good enough lineup to get a world championship trophy. Yet he hasn't been healthy, and he's been swinging with a lot of upper body, not really using his legs the way he usually and has been. And his ability to transfer is one of the things that it has kept him from doing it. And you see, he's getting off that back foot, but not the way he wants to do it. He's very top heavy in his swing, using mostly his arms and his upper body. He's one of those guys who uniquely has both heels off the ground at one time during his transfer, and he holds it there and then transfer. You'll see here as the right foot comes down that left leg really is not doing the action that it normally does. You can tell he's hurting. His balance isn't there. But he's a great gamer, and he'll do anything to get a hit. It won't be a perfect swing, but it'll be an athletic event like that last hit was.
Hunter Pence hits a ground ball to third. The second one, and on to first. Dugout by Pujols to turn the double play and end the inning. At the end of 1 here in Philadelphia, 2-0 Cardinals.
There are always those who chase after the inside straight or look for 3 to a flush. But the smart guys know that you put your money on aces. W.C. Fields had it right. All things considered, I'd rather be in Philadelphia.
And Cliff Lee felt that way. Roy Halladay felt that way. Cole Hamels came up in this organization. They certainly do have 3 aces. Halladay has won 2 Cy Youngs. Cliff Lee's won a Cy Young. Cole Hamels has won an NLCS and World Series MVP. And The Phillies are on the cusp, if Hamels gets one more win, of doing something that has not been done in 39 years. 3 pitchers with 15 or more wins and an ERA of 2.75 or less. The A's and the Orioles in 1972. The last team to do it. Pretty remarkable, and no bad choices, Bobby, for Charlie Manuel heading into the postseason. You would guess they would line them up Halladay, Lee, Hamels as the top 3.
Yeah, the only reason you wouldn't do that is if you have home field advantage and you have a preference on who you want to start the first game on the road.
And you think all 3 of these guys they've all been through so much in the postseason and the regular season that you wouldn't think that would bother any of them, as there's a ground ball to second and Yadier Molina is retired, 1 down. You look at Roy Halladay's numbers, Cliff Lee's numbers. Either one of them could win the Cy Young. They both figured to wind up in the top 3 of the voting, along with Clayton Kershaw of the Dodgers. I mean, everything the Phillies hope to get out of this group, the top 3 they've gotten out of them this year.
Yeah, really, when you talk to Charlie Manuel, Ruben Amaro, the general manager of the Phillies, they talk about really they've surpassed expectations. You think about all the hype coming into this year for the big 3, really the big 4 with Roy Oswalt, and he's battled his back, but threw very well. There he is on the left, Cliff Lee on the right. Threw very well in his last outing, probably secured the number 4 spot in the rotation in the playoffs.
That's what's amazing about this team. They have had a lot of injuries, including Oswalt missing a lot of time, and then Vance Worley comes in and wins 11 games and pitches great for them.
11-2, you know, with a real fine ERA, hits to innings pitched, strikeouts to walks, better numbers than Roy Oswalt, but I think Charlie feels Roy has maybe something inside where Vance might have something in the ball in his hand that comes out of his hand. I think he's going to go with Oswalt as a starter and use Worley in the bullpen.
You see just incredible numbers put up by all of the starters for the Phillies. Furcall's going to try to bunt his way aboard and will succeed.
So what a right-hander wants to do is direct the ball when he's bunting for a hit and direct it down the third baseline. The way you do that is drop your right foot back and point the bat at first base. There he goes with that bat pointing at first base, so when the ball hits the bat, it's directed toward third. He gets the right angle, the right distance, and gets a base hit.
Furcal picked up by the Cardinals at the end of July, a free agent at the end of the year, and it sounds like both sides are willing to talk about perhaps Furcal staying with St. Louis. Cardinals have a lot of offseason decisions. Sounds like they'll pick up the option on Adam Wainwright and do that, or perhaps sign Yadier Molina to a long-term deal. We told you about the Carpenter situation. The big one is Albert Pujols. Lance Berkman's a free agent. Tony La Russa's up at the end of the year. Going to be an interesting winter for the St. Louis Cardinals. John Jay, who's become pretty much the regular center fielder since the trade of Colby Rasmus.
John Jay has a lot of working parts where he drops his hand, lifts his leg, starts with an open stance, and sometimes that'll cause a guy to go into a prolonged slump because there's more moving parts. But I think John Jay is going to be able to hit and hit effectively at the major league level. Hitting 300 now with 10 home runs. Tony's had him in and out of the lineup since he took over the center field job mid-season.
There's nothing more intimidating for a pitcher. That guy's got a lot of moving parts, but times it up, because he has some great bat speed. When he goes to launch that bat, there looks like there's going to be a lot of power and quickness through the hitting zone.
Yeah, they say hitting's a rhythm, and you need timing. So his timing and his rhythm is just a little faster beat than most.
Furcal is running, swing and a miss. Jay is gone. Throw down is late. Stolen a base for Furcal.
Well, Rafael Furcal using his bunting ability and his running ability to set the table here with 2 outs. But the Cardinals, he's really made an impact with his glove, making the routine play and some of the spectacular plays still at his age at shortstop, and that has really helped them get back into this race. Tony La Russa commenting on the stability he's brought at shortstop.
The 2 down for Furcal at second, and the batter is Chris Carpenter.
Earl, you're so right. This was a team that was flawed defensively coming into the season, especially on the infield, and flawed in the bullpen. And since the All-Star break with Jason Mott and a .31 ERA, that's been solidified, and Furcal's helped solidify that infield defense.
A little bit low, a ball and a strike on to Carpenter. Mott is one of 8 different St. Louis relievers who has picked up a save this year, but he's had an outstanding last couple of months. Swing and a miss, 1-2. Carpenter not happy with that last cut.
Well, he doesn't think it's fair. Man on second base, 2 outs. He's looking for the fastball. He's the 9th place hitter and a pitcher. He drops a perfect changeup, blowing away.
Threw him another one, but he missed down and in, 2-2.
Cole Hamels battling here to try and keep that runner at second with the pitcher up. That first inning was an oddity. It was the first time he's given up a run in the first inning, other than one other time in 14 starts here at home this year.
One thing that Carpenter said about one of the reasons why he wanted to stay with St. Louis and finish his career here if possible is that they stuck by him when he was injured. In fact, Carpenter was signed by the Cardinals as a free agent when he was injured, did not pitch in the first year in which he was with the Cardinal organization, but they signed him and said, we know you're having surgery, we want you in our organization, we'll give you a year to get healthy. And then he had 2 more injury plagued seasons, but he appreciates them sticking by him through all those injuries.
And I'm sure there'll be more appreciation when they sign Wainwright this year after sitting out this entire season, and they'll sign him for next year. So loyalty goes a long way, and loyalty's a 2-way street.
Until you're not good enough.
Then it's a dead end.
Then the loyalty's over with. Let's just make that clear.
And a swing and a miss. Finally, Carpenter strikes out to end the inning. To the bottom of the second we go. 2-0 St. Louis. The hunt for October continues on ESPN Wednesday night. It begins at 7 Eastern. The Rays take on the Yankees. The Rays are just 2 games back of the Red Sox right now. Then at 10 Eastern, the Rangers look to build on their division lead when they take on the A's. The Rangers-A's game also is the Hispanic Heritage game, featuring a look at contributions Latino players have made to the game of baseball. Bottom of the second, Cardinals 2, Phillies nothing on the first inning home run by Albert Pujols. Dan Shulman, Bobby Valentine, Oral Hershiser. Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN, our last Sunday night telecast of the season. As Raul Ibanez hits a ground ball to the right side. Terrio ranging to his left and on to first in time, 1 down. When playoff time comes around, we're going to put our radio hats on. And, ESPN Radio has coverage of every game of the postseason. Somebody on ESPN Radio will be spending some time right here in Philadelphia. Don't know what series we'll all be on yet, but the Phillies are headed to the postseason for the 5th year in a row. Here is Placido Polanco. Had such an incredible April. Had 41 hits in the month of April, but has had an elbow problem. Most recently has been suffering from a sports hernia that may require surgery after the season. So his numbers have not been what they were early. Can't expect a guy to keep up that kind of a pace, but what a critically important player Polanco is in the Phillies' success.
Yeah, he's a complete baseball player on defense, on the bases, with the bat in his hand. But as you saw right there, the sports hernia causes some instability in his swing, and as he went to swing there, he leaned over, lost his balance, and that's been happening often lately. You really need to stabilize your core when you're playing this game of baseball and when you're swinging in this very dynamic action. And right now he's anything but stable, and you look to him to hit the ball more to right field or weakly on the ground to left. If he drives the ball at all, he'll hit it into right field and right center field, and if he hits it on the ground, he'll be hitting it, I think, weakly to the left side.
I thought you had a great example about core stabilization, talking about riding a bike no-handed. How
Yes.
you really got your weight into the seat and you're just using
the pedal,
your hips.
if you're pedaling on a bike and you take your hands off, that's it. Yeah,
If you can do that. We're not endorsing that from a bunch of children out there now.
Look, Ma.
But you're moving, and you're moving your legs and your arms a little bit, but you're staying solid.
Oral and Bobby said it was okay.
Yeah, exactly. Let's not do that.
Full count on Polanco. And a 3-2 foul ball out of play off to the right.
Next year, we're going to keep a chart on it.
Okay.
3-2 foul balls.
Okay.
One of the many things that Bobby has taught us about baseball this year that we didn't know coming in.
What's the percentage, Bobby, on 3-2 that it's going to be a foul ball?
On the first swing, it's about 73%.
73%.
73%. 3 out of 4 times. The first pitch, if it's swung at, now not if it's taken, but if it's swung at, it's a foul ball 73% of the time.
We scoffed at Bobby
I know
when
you
he said
did.
that.
And then you watched it all year long.
Now we're on board.
And how about the ball, the foul ball between the guy's legs? You're
Now
going to see
another
that before the night's over. You know that, right?
That happens every night.
Someone will swing and the ball will go between their legs.
That's
sometime tonight.
Sometime tonight.
That's 3 foul balls on a 3-2 pitch in a row.
That's 3 in a row, yeah. So that's really bringing the, bringing the statistics out.
But this guy, if you had to pick a guy to up the average, this is the guy you're going to pick.
Yeah, and it's only on the first. It's really only on the first one because eventually, it's not a foul ball, right?
But it's still a 3-2 event.
You don't want to give that one. No, it's only the first 3-2 though.
Eventually, in Polanco's case, it's a line drive base hit.
It was still 3 out of 4.
Well, thanks for listening anyway, guys. You know, I mean, what the heck? A lot of it's just to fill the air. And, you know, old Dan says we're going to be in the radio booth. Now we're in the TV booth. And here he is. He's trying to be stable. You see him leaning just a little, but he gets that ball down and hits a beautiful line drive in the left center field after timing 3 fastballs in a row that he fouled off to the right side.
Former Cardinal Placido Polanco has also played with the Tigers. A 1-out base hit for him. And here's Ross Glode. Glode is filling in tonight for Ryan Howard. For the latest on Howard, let's go down to Buster.
Guys, Ryan Howard is not in the lineup tonight. He has some bursitis in his left ankle, and in talking with Ruben Amaro, the Phillies general manager, he said that probably tomorrow he'll get an injection of some kind of anti-inflammatory. The Phillies expect he'll miss the next 2 or 3 games. They're hopeful this will help alleviate his discomfort.
So a number of Phillies either battling or just back from injuries. Polanco with a sports hernia, Rollins just back from a groin injury, Utley just back from a concussion. Howard has a foot problem. They're not exactly 100% healthy right now, Bobby. As incredibly well as their season has gone, they do have some aches and pains.
And some of these guys have not been in the lineup regularly, and Charlie wants to get them at bats. Jimmy Rollins wants to get Chase Utley back in the lineup in a regular basis, but these injuries might prohibit that.
Sharply hit to second. And it will be an inning-ending double play. The second time in as many innings that the Phillies have hit into a double play. Albert Pujols is already homered. We'll see him back in the top of the 3rd.
Baseball Tonight team back as our Sunday night baseball game has the Cardinals behind Albert Pujols' home run, leading the Phillies 2-0. Pujols due up 3rd. In the top of the 3rd, John Kruk and Barry Larkin here. The American League wildcard race has gotten very tight. Since June 30th, this is the slimmest lead Boston's had. It's only 2 over the Rays. Errors, pass balls, wild pitches killed them.
A very sloppy game, and a game that the Red Sox really needed to even the series at 2-2. Instead, Tampa comes in, takes 3 out of 4 because they took advantage of sloppy play by the Red Sox.
They've won 8 of their last 9 against them, so the wild card has Tampa Bay just 2 back in the loss column. They have 10 games left, 7 are with the Yankees. The Red Sox have 10 games left. 7 are with the Orioles. So, Barry Larkin, is this now Tampa's to lose, even though they're 2 games back? or is it still Boston's?
I think it's Boston's to lose. Tampa certainly has great pitching going on. That's the one thing Boston does not have. Boston has to figure it out on the mound.
I agree. I think that it's still Boston's to win, but if they can't find pitching, and they better find it soon, they better get consistency from John Lester, this could be a tough one for them.
All right, Dan, back inside of the game. We'll see you in the 6th inning. Talk National League wild card.
All right, Carl, thank you. Boy, what a turn of events in the last couple of weeks as the Red Sox continue to flounder. Tampa Bay with the best pitching in the American League right now. They've taken 6 out of 7 from the Red Sox over the last couple of weeks. The Red Sox, by the way, guys, have a day-night doubleheader with Baltimore tomorrow, and they're thin on pitching as it is. One thing in their favor is on paper, they appear to have an easier schedule the rest of the way than the Rays do. But the way the Rays are playing right now, they don't seem to care who they're playing. They're so confident they can beat anybody. 1-2 the count. Ontario. Good change up there from Hamels. Tampa Bay has 7 more games. 7 of their last 10 with the Yankees, the other 3 with the Blue Jays. Boston has 7 of their last 10 with the Orioles, and the other 3 with New York. But it's just a 2-game lead.
And Dan, we are in Philadelphia, so it's easy to remember in 1964 it was the Phillies that had a 6.5 game lead with 12 games left to play, and it was the Cardinals that surpassed Gene Lock's Philadelphia Phillies in the last game of the season to win it by a game. So there's a lot of baseball left, and a lot of things can happen.
Joe Madden, your manager of the year, if they pull it off or even stay within 2?
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of votes cast around, but Joe Madden, year in and year out, does as good a job as anyone.
Yeah. The Rays losing their entire bullpen from a year ago.
And Mr. Crawford.
And Matt Garza and Carlos Pena and Jason Bartlett.
Wow. Their top 6 payroll men all departed. Dan, you mentioned that before the game.
6 highest paid players from a year ago, not with the team this year, yet here they are, still competing with a team that has more than triple the payroll that they do.
It's got to be Moneyball too.
Moneyball less Moneyball, no money,
no
baseball.
Money, and doing it in the American League East.
Year in and year out.
Again, Wednesday night, the Rays and the Yankees in the first game of the doubleheader here on ESPN. Craig lines it to third, 2 down.
Well, we definitely mentioned balance as being a key to hitting, along with rhythm. You see that Albert lifts his front leg, gets off of his back leg, transfers all of his weight, and never gets out of the pyramid. He stays completely balanced during the entire swing, and that is why he's going for his 11th season in a row with 30 home runs or more, 100 RBIs or more, and a 300 batting average or more.
A high fly ball to shallow center field. And the inning is over. To the bottom of the third. Still 2-0 Cardinals. ESPN Sunday Night Baseball, presented by Taco Bell, is brought to you by Grainger, with over 900,000 products for the ones who get it done. Back here in the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, bottom of the third. Cardinals lead the Phillies 2-0. Cardinals looking to make up some ground on Atlanta. The National League wildcard leaders, the Braves, lost earlier today 7-5 to the Mets. Ryan Schneider is the batter, filling in for Carlos Ruiz behind the plate tonight. Berkman overruns it in foul territory.
Dan, that's one of the things we were talking about before the game. Much discussion during the wintertime whether or not Berkman would play left field or right field if he became a Cardinal. Tony insisted that he'd keep him in right field because that's the only position he was ever used to. In left field for the second time this year, last night and tonight, he misplays this ball as he goes to the line, not remembering that balls always come back toward the field, and overruns the ball in foul territory.
Swing and a miss, a ball and 2 strikes now on Schneider, hitting just a .177 on the season. On the appeal to third, he went. And Carpenter has his first strikeout of the night. Well, Carpenter, a grizzled vet now at 36, but when he came up way back when in the late 90s, was a teammate in Toronto with Roy Halladay. He remembers those days.
We're just young kids that were trying to figure it out and trying to get ourselves started and at least a chance to have a career at the game that we love. And there was a lot of ups and downs for both of us, and we endured them. We went through them together. It was.
Both guys would go on to win Cy Youngs. Carpenter 1, Halladay 2. They were part of a staff oral back then that also had Kelvin Escobar on the staff. 3 guys, all great arms, all came up at about the same time. Carpenter was the one that most people thought would eventually be the guy, the ace. Halladay, remember, had to be sent all the way back down for the majors down to A-ball in the 2001 season to refine his mechanics, but also to work on the mental aspect of the game, which is something that Carpenter has talked about a lot as well. And Carpenter says when he learned how to control his mind is when he became a successful pitcher.
One of the biggest steps that you make as a big leaguer is not only after you've been blessed with a great arm, ability to spin the ball, is the ability to control your mind so that you can be your own coach. It's too late when the pitching coach has to come to the mound. It's too late when the bullpen has to get up because you're in trouble. You have to find a way to get yourself out of your own jams and back on track. And these two graduated with high honors as far as the mental game.
Injuries have cut down on the career numbers that Carpenter might have had. Halladay has been healthier in his career and maybe on a Hall of Fame track if he continues the way that he's been going for the next 4 or 5 years. Jimmy Rollins is the batter. I mean, if Halladay wins another Cy Young this year, and he certainly got a shot, that would be his 3rd. That's pretty rare air there. And although he's well into his 30s, he certainly still seems to be in the prime of his career. Rollins lines a ball to left center for a base hit.
Well, as young as Carpenter and Halladay were, and the Cy Young race this year's got a youngster in there out there with Clayton Kershaw in LA, and Ian Kennedy with his 19 wins, and Cliff Lee, who's gotten really hot here at the end of the season, threw his hat in the ring.
Who do you like?
I think Kershaw. I was really studying it because we talked about it on the way over here today, and I said, all right, I'll get the stats out. He leads in ERA, he leads in wins, but we got 2 starts left. If they're all so close together, anybody of the 4 of them can win it.
Bobby?
I'm with the left-hander from LA myself. I think that hits to innings pitch and strikeouts to walks are very, very compatible or comparable. But he's done it day in and day out for a team that really needed him to be at 500, which is pretty respectable for that team.
Halladay will start tomorrow night in the final game of this series against the Cardinals, so he figures to get that one and one more as a final tune-up for the playoffs, where you would imagine, again, Charlie Manuel's not saying yet, not tipping his hand, but you would imagine it's got some great options, but you would think that Roy Halladay would be the game 1 starter.
And it could come down to one of these last starts. You don't want to blip on the screen. You don't want to leave a bad taste in the voters' mouth right there at the end, and the statistics are so close that it could be the complete difference in the voting is these last 2 starts.
You can see that Halladay is finishing with a bang here in the 2011 regular season, as is Cliff Lee. Lee has been almost untouchable his last 6 or 7 starts. Halladay last year was the game 1 starter for the Phillies in the playoffs, and he had a pretty good day. Threw a no-hitter.
He was perfect.
Yeah. 1-2 the count on Victorino, who had an infield hit his first time up. Rollins is at first, 2 down.
I know this is not playoff baseball for the Phillies, but this is a taste of playoff baseball. Even though they clinched yesterday, they're down 2-0. They're facing a guy on the mound, and Albert Pujols hits a home run, goes up 2-0. Could be a playoff impact player. You've got a guy on the mound, Carpenter, who's the ace of the opposing team, who looks like he's on his game. And this is where the Phillies offense has to learn to rise to the occasion.
And before the game, we mentioned to Charlie about his lineup, and some were surprised that he had so many regulars in there after clinching last night, thinking the guys might have been partying a little, might have needed a little rest today after their celebration last night. And Charlie very aptly pointed out to us that the Cardinals are still in it, and it's only fair to Atlanta and only fair to baseball to play a good team against them while they're in the pennant race.
Yep, you carry the torch for the rest of the league in case you have that shoe on the next year. They will remember. And playing for Tommy Lasorda for all the years. I played for Mike Hargrove in Cleveland for 3 years, Dusty Baker for a year, you, Bobby. And every manager that has any salt always plays their top lineup when they're still playing somebody who's in the race.
And Charlie said, I like to win. I go out there, my players like to win. And that's what it's all about.
Yep. And get in that habit of winning and stay in it.
It's awfully early to clinch a playoff spot. 10 games left in the season, so he doesn't want anybody to get rusty. He'll try to keep the regulars in there a fair bit, but this is a ton of time between clinching and then opening up the playoffs.
And if anybody needs it, he needs it to rest the wounded or mend the wounded. But as I said earlier, they also have to get in the rhythm of playing.
High chopper to first. Pujols unassisted to end the inning. There was a big celebration last night. The Phillies with newcomer Hunter Pence clinching the National League East Division title for the 5th year in a row. So because of the rain, the first race of the chase will take place tomorrow on ESPN. From Chicago, here in Philadelphia, Sunday Night Baseball presented by Taco Bell. 2-0. The Cardinals lead the Phillies. The Cardinals 4 back of Atlanta for the National League wild card spot. David Freese is the batter to lead off the 4th inning against Cole Hamels. It'll be Freese, Lance Berkman, and Yadier Molina. This is the middle of the lineup, the 4, 5, and 6 hitters. Freese providing protection for Albert Pujols tonight because he hits lefties so well. Grounds that one to short, 1 down, and 6 in a row now set down by Hamels, who has really locked in since the Pujols home run. The only thing he's given up since then is a bunt single.
You know, the fastball has been a pitch that really has kind of hurt him so far. That fastball there at 91 in the inner half. But the changeup, when he got that on a roll, that's when he started to shut people down. That was the changeup to righties and to lefties. Great arm speed on it, great action. Just stay away from the mistake fastballs.
Here's Berkman. Changeup, swing and a miss, 0-1.
Well, the arm speed on the changeup is so good that the last 2 have been up and towards the middle of the plate, but they've got a little bit of action. They've got them fooled timing-wise.
Hamels holds right-handed batters to a 201 batting average, which is really incredible. Lefties are hitting 247 against him, and the changeup, Oral, obviously the biggest reason why righties struggle against him so much, right?
Exactly, and the cutter in, so you've got the hard in and the soft away. And he really has had a better pattern with it this year than last year. A lot tighter pattern. He's throwing it more for strikes, the changeup. So out of his hand, it looks like a strike. They commit and they make a soft out or a swing and a miss. Last year was a little bit more high and away.
Base hit through the left side for Berkman. As a hitter, Bobby, if you know that a guy out there has an incredible changeup, one of the best in the game, can you ever sit on the changeup, or no matter what, do you have to sit fastball, adjust off speed?
Well, I never could, and I think a quality changeup like this is very difficult to really sit on. You saw Berkman his first at bat thinking about sitting on it with 2 strikes and having a fastball thrown right by him, and you see Albert swinging early in the count so he doesn't have to worry about the changeup later in the count. So I think it's one of those pitches you have to recognize and take rather than recognize and sit on, as you say, Dan.
Here's Molina, runner at first, 1 out, 2-0 Cardinals in the top of the 4th. The Cardinals have been the best offensive team in the National League this year. They lead the league in a number of categories, including runs scored. But one category they lead in, they don't want to lead in, is grounding into double plays. They have hit into a ton of double plays, potentially on a National League record pace. And they add one more to their total right there. 4-6-3 to end the inning. 3-4-5 coming up for the Phillies when we come back. 2-0 Cardinals going to the bottom of the fourth between innings. Buster Olney with Phillies pitching coach Rich Doobie.
Rich Doobie, Cole Hamels allowed 3 runs in the first 5 pitches of the game. What have you seen from him?
Well, they came out very aggressively. You know, a lot of times it's a cat and mouse game, and sometimes they're taking, sometimes they're swinging. The pitch to Albert was that might have been a ball, might have been off the plate inside, and it looked like he was just looking for it. And well, that's what good hitters do. They'll sit on a pitch here and there, and he got the one he wanted, and we're down 2-0. But Cole's made some adjustments. He slowed the ball up with his changeup, of course, and done a nice job.
You've got 10 days left in the regular season. You've clinched a spot in the playoffs. What are your priorities as pitching coach with your starting rotation?
Well, we'll keep sending our guys out there. They're going to stay sharp, and they're going to continue to pitch. We'll monitor them. We won't take them too deep in games as far as 120 pitches or so, but we want to keep them sharp. We want to get Antonio Bastardo going again, and you know, keep our bullpen as fresh as possible also.
Rich, thanks. Dan, back to you.
All right, Buster, thank you. Chase Utley leads off the bottom of the fourth for the Phillies. And grounds one up the middle for his second hit of the night. After an 0 for 4 last night, a good sign for the Phillies to see Utley find a couple of holes. And here comes a guy that everybody uses the same word to describe what he has brought to the Phillies since his acquisition from Houston. Energy. Everybody says that Hunter Pence, Bobby, has really energized this team.
Yeah, I talked to Charlie about that. He said a few years ago when they were just learning to play together, they had Rollins and they had Shane Victorino, and there was a lot of excitement, a lot of energy, but they kind of got a little dull. And when Hunter Pence came into their locker room and into their dugout and started talking about every pitch and every game and moving around the way he does and having all these different little quirks that he has, he uplifted the team with his ability, obviously, but also with his energy.
As you said, there are a lot of unusual things about Pence, and folks down in Houston are well aware of this, and people in the National League Central who saw him so much. But the way he warms up in the on-deck circle is very unusual. Even sometimes the way he rounds the bases or throws the ball, something just looks a little bit different, but you can't argue with the results.
Well, he's a real tall and well-built young man who wears his pants up, so he has those very high calves. It makes it look like he has legs that are going to continue to you know, go somewhere other than to his knee.
3-0 green light.
Then often he's off balance when he swings, but he's so strong he makes it again an athletic event and will be out in front of a ball, or he'll reach for a ball, but he'll still be able to put the head of the bat on it and drive it into the outfield. And when he gets a pitch that's up in the zone, he knows what to do with it.
Tony La Russa used the word admiration when he was asked before the game, you know, what did you think when the Phillies acquired Pence? He said admiration. They went out and got somebody they needed, a right-handed bat to balance their lineup a little more. They had a lot of left-handed bats in there. A guy who's never been in the postseason. So excited you saw the celebration. And he'll pull one past a diving for call for a base hit.
That's a perfect example of his strength and his athletic ability. Out in front of a breaking ball a little, instead of giving up on the swing, he stays with it and hits the ball out in front and drives it through the hole. Here he sees it, then he stops seeing it, and he's out in front. Yet that strength and that athletic ability, not in balance, not a perfect swing. You going to teach your kids that, Charlie? No, sir. Is that what he said before the game?
That's right.
But he's not going to mess with him.
But I'm not. But he's a good hitter.
Yeah. Here's Raul Ibanez. Grounded out his first time up.
He doesn't look like a good hitter, but he's a good hitter.
The Phillies with 6 hits already in this game. But they've hit into 2 double plays, haven't scored a run yet, left a couple of men on. They've had their chances against Carpenter. A few more wins and the Phillies will have the best season in franchise history. This could be yet another double play, the 3rd of the night already hit into by the Phillies. end result is 2 down and Utley at third. 98 wins, guys, already for the Phillies. The franchise record for this organization that goes back 120 years is 101 wins. They did that in 77 and 78. Mike Schmidt, Steve Carlton, etc. Great teams. Oh, excuse me, 77 and 76 had 101 wins in each of those seasons. They've got 98 already, and including tonight, they've still got a dozen games left in the season.
Season ticket holder in 76. I graduated from Cherry Hill East.
Wow.
Right across. Yep. Got to see that team for a long time.
Who was your guy growing up? Who was your favorite Philly?
Probably Pete Rose, Mike Schmidt. Greg Luzinski was a lot of fun. Steve Carlton was absolutely amazing to watch. Right over first base, first row, second deck.
The old vet.
Yep.
One of the best third basemen to ever play the game, Hall of Famer Mike Schmidt.
Big, athletic, strong, quiet, competitive.
Oh, I love watching him
to beat
hit. What risks. Talk about being fooled and still having enough power to hit it.
One of the great low ball hitters, that's for sure.
Yep.
And a bouncer to third. So the Phillies get the first 2 men on, but fail to cash in again and still trail 2-0. ESPN's Sunday Night Baseball is presented by Taco Bell. We're back at sold-out Citizens Bank Park in Philadelphia. The 199th consecutive regular season sellout for the Fightin' Phils, who have won the National League East Division again. They're down 2-0 as we go to the 5th. And Rafael Furcal takes a strike from Cole Hamels. What an amazing run it has been for this team. The World Series in 2008, 5 straight division titles, increasing their win total in each of those 5 years, and on their way to the postseason again. With so many great veterans who have been through everything you can go through in October. The great pitching, much deeper pitching than they had when they won that World Series in 2008. Especially in the rotation. The bullpen, wait a couple innings. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. But these guys are so good. So it wasn't easy to kind of poke holes in the Phillies. You know, what could go wrong in October. There's a big swing and a miss, and Furcal is gone, 1 down. Between innings, Pedro Gomez with Cardinal manager Tony La Russa.
Tony, Chris Carpenter's been living a little bit on the edge, but 3 double plays gotten him out of jams. What is it about him that makes him be so good like that?
Well, he's a competitor, but, you know, you think about it, he's got a jam with ground balls or found holes. I mean, the first 2 last inning, they were nicely struck, but if they're at an infielder, so he's getting the ball on the ground and good things happen.
Now, you guys have been watching the scoreboard the last few days, but tonight you already know Atlanta's lost. What type of a relief is that to know that you can gain ground?
Right, but it doesn't change anything for us. So unless we win a lot of games from here to the end, Pedro, you know, we're not going to get in there. So our urgency is to win the game we play, and we can make it exciting. And so them winning or losing today doesn't change what we have to do today. We're just going to have to start making some adjustments because Hamlin's starting to mess around.
All right, Tony, thank you. Dan?
All right, Pedro, thank you. And that is no matter if it's April or September, 10 games up or 10 games out, the focus for Tony La Russa is win the game you're playing today. He is intense, locked in, driven, and his team, don't you think, Bobby, reflects his personality to a certain extent?
Yeah, I think you learn to play the game a certain way, and Tony's been here 16 years. Most of these guys play their first major league game for him. If not, they learned to play the game the right way when they got traded over here. So they understand what that mindset is, and they bring it to the game every day.
Now I'd like to go back to baseball tonight, where you were on the set with Carl and Crucky and Barry. And you said, unless my ears were deceiving me, you said that the St. Louis Cardinals and the San Francisco Giants are going to make the playoffs this year. Swing and miss, and Jay has gone 2 down. That is correct, right?
That's what I said.
So St. Louis will catch Atlanta for the wild card, currently 4 back.
Yes.
And San Francisco, currently 5 back of Arizona, will catch the Diamondbacks and win the National League West.
Yes, that's what I said. That's exactly what I said. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
and you're standing by it.
Well, I am standing by it. You know, there's 3 left. The Giants have 3 left at the end of the season with Arizona. I think Arizona's had a wonderful season this year. But
we'll see how it plays out. Going to be a fascinating last couple of weeks of the season. Cardinals go in order in the 5th. This week on ESPN's Monday Night Football, Sam Bradford leads the St. Louis Rams at MetLife Stadium, where they'll take on Eli Manning and the Giants. The Rams and Giants on a Monday Night Football at 8:30 Eastern, and also streaming live on WatchESPN.com and the Watch ESPN app. A big night for Philadelphia sports fans. The Eagles are playing tonight, as are the Phillies. The Eagles are taking on the Falcons tonight, and so fans at your local establishment here in Philadelphia trying to mix in baseball and football on a fun Sunday night to be a Philadelphia sports fan. Tell you, if you ever want to see what real traffic means when the Eagles are home the same time the Phillies are home, all the sports arenas and stadiums are in the same sports complex here, so you can have the Sixers and the Phillies playing at the same time, or the Eagles and the Phillies playing at the same time. You all Flyers.
But here, this beautiful facility supported so well by the community. 199 games in a row sold out, even with the Eagles on television playing Sunday Night Football.
And even with the team having clinched the division last night, they're looking forward to October again here in Philadelphia. That pitch is pulled foul by Ross Glode, and the count remains 1-2. As it stands right now, there's no way to tell who the Phillies will play in the first round of the playoffs. If Atlanta is the wild card, then Philadelphia will play either Milwaukee or Arizona, assuming Arizona wins the National League West. Pitch down and in, 2 balls and 2 strikes. Atlanta lost today 7-5. Milwaukee won their game. Arizona won. San Francisco won. Hey, the Giants have won 8 in a row. And sit down if you're listening to this next fact. The Giants hit 6 home runs today, including one by their pitcher, Matt Cain. Where was this offense all season long for the Giants? Because with their great pitching, just even a decent offense, and they'd be in great position to get back to October again. But Pablo Sandoval hit 2 home runs today, both in the same inning. And they've still got games, as you talked about, Bobby, they've still got games left with Arizona. So it's all about just getting close enough to make those 3 games matter.
You know, it was Joe Madden just last week. He was 6.5 behind Boston. They had a 3-game series, and he said, you know, we play 1 game at a time. We all know about 1 game at a time, but we have to win all 3 to make this thing interesting. They won all 3. Then they went up to Boston and they won 3 out of 4. So now they're 2 back, and it's more than interesting. It's exciting for some and panic time for others.
2-game difference with 10 games to go. I mean, that's no longer a historic amount of games to overcome. They've done a lot of the heavy lifting already to get within 2.
Except for they have 7 games against the Yankees.
Right.
Do the Rays, and that's a tall order. But right now, the Yankees pitching is still in disarray. They have some people who aren't playing as well as they should, and a few of their great players like Alex Rodriguez are hurt at this time. So it might be that perfect storm. You never know.
So if you're the Yankees, I mean, you don't like the Red Sox because you're the Yankees.
Yep.
But would you rather the Red Sox make the playoffs? Because everybody should be a little bit afraid of Tampa Bay right now.
Well, they're pitching and the way they're playing together, you should take notice of them for sure. But once again, Joe Girardi plays every game to win, and he's not thinking about who he's going to play next. He's thinking about who he's playing now.
You can't do it. You can't play favorites. You can't say, oh, let's lay down for 1 game because we'd rather play them. You just don't know who's going to bite you.
not implying that, just saying.
No, I know.
You know.
Yeah, if you had your druthers and you could pick one and they were both the same exact, and you said, okay, you can choose one or the other. Yeah, I think you would definitely choose not to play the Rays.
And what the Red Sox
really,
they really need some starting pitching. I mean, their pitching is thin right now. The starting pitching has not been good over the last couple of weeks, and some injuries, some guys not performing well as Hamels comes up with a base hit.
So that lineup is so good in Boston, but right now Gonzalez's right shoulder is suspect. Euclid is out of the lineup with a sports hernia. He is so important to the middle of that lineup. So their offense isn't that vaunted offense. They're only scoring 4 or 5 runs, not 6 or 7. Yeah. And that makes a big difference when your pitching is as depleted as the Red Sox are.
Yeah, they're not getting any production out of really anybody in the starting staff. They're relying on Tim Wakefield, who took 10 starts, 11 starts just to get his 200th win. And John Lackey has had the up and down year, really a terrible year. John Lester's not performing at a high level, so it is not good right now in Soxtown.
Started the year 2-10, then went 80-41 with the best team in the baseball for more than 4 months. But now the Red Sox are just 4-14 in their last 18 games. Jimmy Rollins, the batter.
And you wouldn't think a team with that kind of offense and the pitching going in could go 4-14 or 2-8 in their last 10, but in fact they did. And now they, as Terry Francona said today, they just have to find a way to get out of this slump that they're in.
Worth mentioning, by the way, that the Angels are only 4 back in the wild card race. Now they're 4 back. They're behind 2 teams, so that makes it much more difficult. But they're 4.5 back of Texas and 4 back of Boston. So the Angels still hoping for a miracle, like the Cardinals, like the Giants. Angels finish the season at home with a 3-game series against the Rangers, by the way. Rollins with a fly ball to right center, deep but playable, and the inning is over. Albert Pujols has already homered here tonight. He'll bat third for the Cardinals when we come back.
Welcome back, everyone. Carl Ravitch here. Baseball tonight, part of the Sunday Night Baseball game. John Kruk now on the Philadelphia Philly Wall of Fame, and you've got your plaque held up there earlier this summer as a big ceremony took place here in Philadelphia. John, Barry Larkin join me now. We'll hear from John and Barry during these highlights here. Mets and the Atlanta Braves today, and the Braves bullpen couldn't hold it.
Yeah, the Braves had a breakdown in the bullpen. Johnny Venter certainly struggled, and you see the home run given up by Craig Henry.
That's Lucas Duda. He's got 10. Mets win that game. Arizona and San Diego. Goldschmidt's been great for Arizona.
Yeah, it's amazing. You call up someone in the summer, you don't know how young kids react. He's been absolutely fantastic and entrenched in the middle of that lineup with Upton producing runs.
They're feeling a little heat, though, from these red-hot San Francisco Giants. The Giants blasted off 5 homers. Pablo Sandoval 2 in 1 inning today.
Offensive output. Where has this offense been this entire season? It's always been about great pitching. You know what? Matt Cain, the great pitcher, even hit a home run in this game.
He did. So it's the Braves, it's the Cardinals, it's the Giants as well in this wild card race, and the Diamondbacks leading the West. The East and the AL seems pretty simple. Is this harder with more teams in it?
Yeah, the wild card to me is a little difficult because I think that, you know, with the Braves pitching staff being depleted, starting pitching, they're going to be struggle to win it.
Yeah, they're going to have to certainly figure out how to get this off, or how to get this pitching staff together. And those guys at the end of the bullpen are going to have to certainly button it up.
All right, that's Barry. That's John. We'll see you post-game as we continue covering the wild card AL style. And an early leadoff double here. Good sign for the Cardinals. Back to you guys.
All right, guys, thank you. Ryan Theriot with a double to lead off the 6th inning. The Cardinals lead 2-0. Both runs coming in the first inning on an Albert Pujols home run. The batter is Alan Craig, who doubled and scored on that Pujols home run back in the first. Craig has started games this year, guys, at second, third, left, center, and right. And has hit well this year. Missed a couple of months with a fractured kneecap middle of the season, but when given the opportunity, he's really done a nice job. And now, whatever the play is, Bobby, bunt or otherwise, the Cardinals want to make sure there's no confusion here.
You're right, Dan. I got to think with them yelling time out of the dugout like that to make sure Jose Oquendo got the sign to Craig, that they are thinking about a bunt right here, which would be an intentional walk to Albert.
It's going to stay fair for a while and then wind up foul.
That would have worked out perfectly for the Cardinals, and you wouldn't have been able to walk Albert with first and third.
Yeah, I was thinking that the Cardinals were hoping for a walk in this situation. Otherwise, you know, there's really no chance of Albert swinging the bat this inning. And Tony, knowing that, he's trying to get the runner over to third, so at least it's a first and third situation that Freese will be hitting in rather than first and second.
And again, Jose Oquendo comes all the way down from third base to the plate and whispers whatever the play is into the ear of Alan Craig.
You got to think this bunt in this situation has not been flashed that often this year.
Bunted foul again. This is back before the first pitch, as everybody was yelling time. Even Albert Pujols in the on-deck circle. See? He heard the bench yelling time, and then he yells time and points to the bench and says, hey, somebody's got something to say here.
Yeah, I heard him yelling up here that Albert's voice was the one that really drowned it out everyone else's, got the home plate umpire's attention.
Alan Craig got in the box, didn't check for any signs at all. They wanted to get the bunt on. They wanted to make sure he would get it.
Drives the 0-2 pitch high and deep to left center field and gone.
Albert good to hit now.
Not getting the bunt down, the best thing that could have happened for Alan Craig and the Cardinals.
Well, he had the adrenaline going right there because he, as you said, he didn't look for the sign. Then he fouled off 2 bunts. He knew when he got to the dugout there were going to be some unhappy faces, but instead he turned the frowns upside down as he missed a bunt here, missed a bunt there, and they got a cutter down and in, or a breaking ball down and in, and said, I want a smile, please. Got to the dugout, got a handshake and a high five from the entire team.
7th home run on the season for Alan Craig. 4-0 St. Louis. And here's Pujols, who has homered and flied out. That's the first pitch he's taken tonight. Swung at the first pitch both times against Hamels. The home run is 36. The RBIs number 94 and 95. Ground ball weakly hit to short. And Pujols retired one down. The Phillies are out hitting the Cardinals 7-6, but because the Cardinals have hit a couple of home runs, they're up 4-0 in this game, in desperate need of a win. Pujols with 1, Craig with 1. A win for the Cardinals would bring them within 3.5 of Atlanta. The batter is David Freese. Freese hitting in the cleanup spot, normally occupied by Matt Holliday. Holliday out with a tendon injury in one of his fingers, suffered swinging the bat in the on-deck circle. They don't know if they're going to get him back this season. He'll be looked at when they get home. Holliday also this year suffered an injury getting ready to lift weights in the workout room. Also had his appendix taken out, and also had a moth fly into his ear during a game. Got lodged so deeply in his ear and was so annoying they had to take him out of the game, and they eventually had to go in there with tweezers and get the moth out because it was so stuck in his ear. It's been one thing after another for Matt Holliday this year.
That gives new meaning to a mothball, huh? My goodness. Yeah, he's had a very peculiar year. And Alan Craig has had a very interesting year in that when he's played, he's done extremely well. And then he's been out of the lineup also, and now gets an opportunity to play because of these injuries and producing.
Just a way of life in baseball. It's not a 25-man game. It's a 30, 35, 40-man game. And the Cardinals, like all teams, have dealt with their fair share of injuries and have had guys come up from the minors, fill in. Talk about the Phillies with the great season they've had. Ruiz has been on the DL. Utley, Rollins, Polanco, Victorino, Oswalt, Lidge, Madsen, Contreras, Blanton. It's a lot of guys. They've all been on the DL this year, and they've got 98 wins.
And the starting staff has answered the bell every time they were asked to.
You didn't even memorize that. You just read their roster.
Pretty much. Ball 3. It's Carlos Ruiz, I don't know if you can call him the unsung hero anymore. He's gotten a lot of attention the last couple of years for the incredible value that he brings to this team and the pitching staff. How important Orel is a catcher.
It's fantastic to have a guy back there, especially with the resumes he has to catch and the egos. He puts down the fingers. They don't shake him off.
Berkman with a grounder to short. And the inning is over. 2 more runs, though, for the Cardinals on the home run by Alan Craig. St. Louis now leads 4-0. The John Kruk Fan Club at a full force here in Philly. ESPN Sunday Night Baseball, presented by Taco Bell, is brought to you by the makers of new extra strength Bayer Advanced Aspirin, the official pain reliever of Major League Baseball. Extra strength pain relief, twice as fast as before. With Orel Hershiser, Bobby Valentine, Buster Olney, Pedro Gomez, and Carl Ravitch, John Kruk, Barry Larkin. Baseball tonight, everybody here at Citizens Bank Park. The Phillies coming up trailing 4-0 the night after they clinched the NL East Division title for the 5th consecutive year. 2, 3, 4 hitters: Victorino, Utley, and Pence. Some saying Victorino, at least among position players, may be the MVP of this team, although he is robbed of a base hit by Rafael Furcal. A great sprawling play.
Rafael, we mentioned this, really solidified this infield, and he ranges to his left and throws out the speedy Victorino at first base. You'll see him dive here, make the one-handed play, and then understand how fast the runner is. It quickly turns the 360 and throws a bullet to first base. Bang, bang at first, and the reason they say that Victorino could be the MVP is because a lot of these balls have gotten through, and oftentimes he's beaten them at first base. Terrific play by Furcal.
And solidifying that infield is huge because this is a ground ball staff. Dave Duncan preaches the two-seamer. Carpenter's got the great two-seamer going tonight, and even with the sharp curveball, gets a lot of ground balls also.
The batter, Chase Utley, already a couple of base hits tonight, single to right and a single to center. The Phillies have 7 hits already in this game, but have yet to score, in large part due to the fact that they've hit into 3 double plays.
You know, Charlie Manuel says that a home run's nothing but a fly ball that winds up on the other side of the fence. And as Tony La Russa aptly pointed out, when you hit a ground ball and it gets through the infield, it's just well placed.
It's fun listening to Charlie talk hitting. Charlie loves baseball, but Charlie really loves hitting. Right?
Well put.
And we really love Charlie. Charlie's.
Oh, here's these.
Yeah.
Now look at Hunter
That's
Pence.
perfect. That's just the way you want to swing it home. Tape that.
You want to teach that, Charlie?
Oh, yeah. Swing and a miss, 3-2.
That's got to be the kind of thing that Charlie will not watch him do. Charlie, right there, see, he's going to have his head out there towards right field. He's not going to watch that practice swing. See, I'm going to pretend like I'm checking out something down there. I'm not going to watch him swing that bat.
I think he's calling Ryan Sandberg over. He says, hey, Rhino, you haven't been here all year. It's your birthday. Take a look at this on-deck swing.
A bouncer to first. Carpenter covering for the second out. Let's go down to Buster Olney with more on the guy we were just showing you, Hunter Pence.
You guys mentioned one word that's been talked about, Hunter Pence, energy. Here's another one, kooky. That's the way he's described by a lot of his teammates, but a good type of kooky. For example, one time earlier this year after he had a couple of hitless at bats, Pete McCannon, their bench coach, mentioned to him, hey, you ought to mix in a blooper. And he turned to Pete and said, I don't hit bloopers, I melt faces. That's his personality.
And he seems to be fitting in just fine with his new teammates, who really, the celebration last night in the clubhouse with the champagne, Pence, not by his own doing, kind of became the focal point of it, because all of the other guys on this team have won before, but Pence hasn't, and they really surrounded him and showered him with champagne after they clinched the division. Grounder right to Furcal at short. And safe at first is Pence as Pujols couldn't dig it out of the dirt cleanly. That'll be an error on Rafael Furcal.
Furcal has a very strong arm, and this time I believe he got this ball as a 2-seam grip rather than a 4-seam grip, realizing that Pence is going down the line. Rushed his throw a little, threw a sinker over there at Albert, who gets it over on his glove side. You have to just get it. Every major leaguer knows, yeah, there it sunk down like a 2-seamer would rather than a 4-seamer. Every major leaguer is taught from day one in Little League that you grab the ball when you're throwing it on defense, and you grab it across 4 seams, not across 2 seams. And that seemed to be the sinker that caused the problem there.
Furcal charged with the error, allows the inning to continue, and it gets Raul Ibanez to the plate, 0 for 2. Carpenter's been getting out of trouble all night long. Has had at least one man on base against him in every inning, but again, getting so many ground balls, has gotten 3 double plays. Ibanez hit a grand slam last night that really blew it open in the 8th inning. It was 3-2 going to the 8th, 5-2 when he came up, 9-2 when he hit the grand slam, and that would be the final as the Phillies celebrated.
And what a turnaround, huh? What a turnaround. We were here at the end of May. He was hitting under 200. People were wondering if he would even be able to be a contributor. Now he's hitting 5th in the lineup. He's driving the ball in the gaps. He figured out his rhythm and his balance and showed that he still has plenty left.
Good tailing action, Orel, on that fastball.
He's had great movement all night, and he's located the ball well down in the strike zone. They've hit some firmly. They found some holes. Those 88 pitches right there, 56 of them for strikes, but a lot more have been quality pitches.
Carpenter, a very impressive 93-42 as a Cardinal. The runner will be on the move. Pence at first base.
He runs a little quirky too over there. Big feet and long arms.
And another ground ball. Inning over. 13 outs on the ground recorded tonight by Chris Carpenter. 4-0 Cardinals. Catch all the action of the 2011 Major League Baseball postseason. The excitement begins a week from Friday, September the 30th, as the Division Series begin. And the National League East champion Philadelphia Phillies, they'll get started on Saturday. On the 1st of October, the 2 American League Division Series will begin a week from Friday. The National League Division Series a week from Saturday. He's ready for the postseason. Yadier Molina will lead off the inning. And again, every single game of the postseason, right through to the end of the World Series, can be heard on ESPN Radio. You see John Shambi on the right, Chris Singleton on the left. They will both be a big part of the coverage on ESPN Radio. Bobby Orel and I also very excited to be working the postseason, which again begins a week from Friday.
We are going to build up some frequent flyer miles.
I mean, we travel to the games when we do the radio.
Yes, we do.
You have to go to the game.
Yeah. Oh boy, that's, I can't wait.
What are you
for
thinking
the
about
playoffs.
doing from your office or your
Well,
living room?
You know, maybe simulated. You know, that type. Can't do that one. Huh?
Yeah, there's only one rule.
Well, what's that? Be there.
Lose the tie.
Nice.
Radio, baby.
Nice.
John Shambi does not own a tie.
Well, I'll be working with John Shambi. He really doesn't own a tie? Or you've never seen him with one? Radical.
Maybe one.
I think that was a rental.
3-2 the count on Molina.
John Shambi is a great guy and a great announcer. I'm looking forward to working with him this weekend with the Yankees and the Red Sox.
Yeah, ESPN Radio picking up some extra games over the last week and a half of the regular season. Swing and a miss. Molina gone. Strikeout number 9 for Cole Hamels. Well, as great as the Phillies have been, no team goes into the postseason without question marks of some kind. Is Ryan Howard going to be healthy? His numbers, even with a big RBI total, some of his other numbers are down this year. Utley, Polanco, and some others. How healthy are they right now, and will they be going into October? And then the bullpen. You've got the closer in Ryan Madson. Never been a closer in October before. As for Call, lifts a fly ball toward Pence in right field. Bastardo, who's been one of the great relievers in baseball this year, but lately Orioles been struggling a little bit. Stutz, a young guy, hasn't pitched as well lately. Lidge hurt most of the year. What's his role going to be? What are your thoughts on their bullpen?
Well, I think Madsen can be locked down in October. He's proven he can pitch in the 9th inning. He's done a great job. I think Bastardo is the key. They're going to need him to get back on track and be a dominant guy. And then they're going to have enough help in the 7th inning because you only need the 4 starters. So it should be okay. But 8th and 9th, a little sketchy. I like the first 7.
Dan, I think the biggest question is if they don't win the World Championship, is it going to be considered a failed season?
Well, you look at teams that have won over 100 games, which this team's probably going to, and it's still long odds to win a World Championship.
Jay with a base hit into left field. A 2-out single here in the 7th. The Cardinals are leading 4-0. Do you think there's a, if you had a concern, Bobby, about the team, is the bullpen it, or is there another area?
Yeah, coming into the season, the bullpen was my concern. With the Phillies, it remains my concern. Bastardo was terrific until he hit this skid, and as Charlie said, we've got to do something to make him right because he'll be their only left-hander in that bullpen, and to get through the National League and through the American League winner, no matter who it is, you're going to need somebody to get some left-handed hitters out.
My biggest concern is their health, the lower half of their hitters, and will they score enough runs if those guys don't get healthy with Utley and Rollins and Polanco and Howard. You know, Hunter Pence is a great addition, but he needs teammates around him. And you got to remember, this team was the Phillies before he came here. And if they're not out there on the field, and like tonight, this could be a playoff type game, and they've still got a goose egg up there.
Chris Carpenter, by the way, just got another changeup. Swung and missed again. He's not having any fun hitting here tonight. Lays off the fastball down and away. 2 balls and a strike. He is struck out and grounded out. He was hearing it from somebody on the field. Tough to tell where it was coming from in his first at bat because he kept getting changeups. He was fouling off some pitches. He was battling as much as he could. Fastball hit in the air to right field, fairly deep, but playable for Pence, and the inning is over. 7th inning stretch, still 4-0 Cardinals. Some great looks at the action here tonight in Philadelphia. They saved the best shot for last. The world's greatest mascot, the Philly Fanatic. As we go to the bottom of the 7th inning, the Cardinals lead the Phillies 4-0. Dan Shulman, Bobby Valentine, Oral Hershiser. And by the way, tonight concludes our Sunday night schedule for the season. We do not have a game next week. Bobby, I know, like me, this is your first year in the Sunday night booth. Oral, you were here last year, but what a treat it's been for us to work with such a phenomenal crew. Tom Archer, our producer, Jimmy Moore, our director, and so many people that we should and could mention, but just from the tape guys, camera guys, audio people, associate directors, associate producers, Marty and Peter here in the booth. Now see, I'm trying to do a good job, and I'm getting. I said associate producers, another way of saying graphics folks. Evan and Seth and Jeff.
Pros abound. We have
tons of them.
We have been surrounded by professionals who have made our life, at least my life, so much easier than I expected it to be. It's been a wonderful year, and working with you two guys has blessed my life.
Oh, thank you. And,
thank you.
Right back at you. The work that people do behind the scenes to put together the video packages, the graphics, the storylines, the research, just makes our jobs so enjoyable and so much easier. And a big thank you from all of us here in the booth to everybody on the crew.
second the motion.
Motion carried.
Chris Carpenter back out there working the bottom of the 7th. Critical game for the Cardinals as they hope all of them will be down the stretch over the last couple of weeks. The Fanatics in pretty good shape for first night after a division clinching. As Polanco draws a leadoff walk.
He could put some champagne away with that body. Carp on the mound for the Cardinals in a key game for them to pick up a game, and he's kept his fastball down and he's had it moving. He's created ground balls all night long. First through the 6th inning, this ball has been going down 91 to 93 miles an hour with great movement. Middle of the strike zone, up in the strike zone, down in the strike zone. It has been moving down and getting the ground ball.
All is quiet in the Cardinal pen. Ross Glode steps in.
He really played Glode to pull.
And he's popped it up. Freeze at third. One down here in the bottom of the 7th. The St. Louis Cardinals, just about every game a must-win game for them right now. They're 4 back of Atlanta in the wild card race. They're up 4-0 here on the Phillies. Got it started in the first inning. Albert Pujols on the first pitch he saw from Cole Hamels. A long 2-run homer, his National League leading 36th home run of the season. And then in the 6th inning, Alan Craig, after failing twice to get a bunt down, hit the 0-2 pitch out to left center, his 6th home run of the season. Also a 2-run shot, and it's 4-0 St. Louis. A win tonight for the Cardinals. They'd move within 3.5 of Atlanta. Atlanta lost today to the Mets 7-5. Schneider with a high fly ball to center. 2 down. And we have John Bowker now coming up as a pinch hitter for Cole Hamels. Bowker pinch hitting for Hamels. Joe Blanton, a forgotten man for the Phillies this year. Been injured most of the season. He is up in the bullpen right now, and presumably vying for maybe a long reliever's spot in the postseason if he can make the postseason roster. Of course, was slated to be the number 5 starter this year.
Yeah, Bowker's hitting right here, and watching him in batting practice looked like he's made to order for that little sinker that Carpenter's been featuring all day. They might have the report on him too.
Yeah, it went right to the curveball. He did look like a real good low ball hitter, like the ball out away from him. And he can pull that pitch. See how he crowds the plate. They definitely have a report on him.
They've got the report.
He's been throwing the sinker all night, getting ground balls in the first 2 pitches to a young hitter from the left side. He gets a curveball and a cutter.
That's why this is such a fabulous league. It's the highest level of baseball anywhere in the world. Everyone's prepared, and all you have to do is execute. And you have a chance of winning the battle, and that's anything but a check swing. For strike 2. Hasn't seen the sinker yet.
Well, with the internet and with the cheaper video cameras, they have not only gotten written reports on him, they have film on him. And it comes quick. Used to be you have to go once around the league, scouts write the reports, then the league makes the adjustment. Now they know when you arrive.
Great job, guys, and a great job by Carpenter executing the scouting report to strike out Bowker and end the inning. We're at the end of 7 in Philadelphia, still 4-0 Cardinals. And in part by Mazda. We believe if it's not worth driving, it's not worth building. Nice cool night here in Philadelphia. Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN. A 4-0 lead for the Cardinals over the Phillies as we go to the top of the 8th inning. The Fanatic is as closely associated with the Phillies as any player, perhaps. Just the game's best mascot.
Brought us some cheesesteaks last time we were here. Remember?
Oh, they
came
were
up to the
good,
booth.
too. We're so glad to have you talk then.
Here's Joe Blanton. Elbow trouble has cost him most of his season, just his 8th appearance here in the 2011 season. Cole Hamels goes 7 innings, gives up 4 runs. Didn't walk about, or struck out 9, but gave up the 2 home runs to Albert Pujols and Alan Craig. Top of the order, Terrio, Craig, and Pujols here in the 8th inning. And a ground ball to Jimmy Rollins. It's 1 down. MLB.TV, baseball everywhere. Watch over 100 live out-of-market games per week online and on your favorite devices. Visit MLB.TV for details. Over 45,000 in attendance here tonight. Another sellout. 199th consecutive regular season sellout for the Phillies. Alan Craig 2 for 3, a double and a homer. Doing a nice job filling in for the injured Matt Holliday. And waiting on deck, Albert Pujols. Boy, Blanton looks pretty sharp.
90-91. The elbow's healthy there. Haven't seen the big breaking ball yet. Keeping the ball down. Bobby will say one of the first signs of health is good location. There it is.
And one of the first signs of bad health is poor location.
After a guy that used to have some.
Yeah, I think if you watch a pitcher and you want a little telltale sign that he's injured or about to be injured, you'll see the command leave him. Because he'll be able to pitch through the pain for a little while before he really realizes that that pain is not going to go away. And as soon as your concentration is something other than what it should be, and when you start thinking about that place, as you well know, you lose that little command, that little concentration.
Well, I'll tell you a guy who's not having any trouble with his command. Justin Verlander won again today.
24.
8 shutout innings against Oakland.
He must have been giving away his pitches. They got 3 hits today.
He's 24 and 5 and figures to have 1 more start.
I think he's the MDP,
which is the most
dominant player.
What about the MVP?
I think he could win it because pitchers have won it in the past.
He'll be in the top 3. Don't ask me who 1 and 2 are.
Look at that.
Deep center. And Craig has his 2nd home run of the night. A double and 2 home runs for Alan Craig. He's driven in 3, and it's 5-0 Cardinals.
This is a guy with very good defensive ability, very good power. He's hitting over 300, and Tony's been trying to get him into the lineup in a regular way all season long. Looks like he's going to play the last 10 games of the season, maybe do a lot of damage.
Now Pujols.
Under 180 at bats. That's his 8th home run without regular play. He's a 25 home run guy, maybe 30, 32.
One of the feelings about this Cardinal team is if they are unable to retain Albert Pujols, say they re-sign Lance Berkman. Berkman comes in and plays first base if Pujols is somewhere else, and Craig becomes the right fielder. Just imagine what it's going to be like in the offseason. You have to think that the Pujols Prince Fielder stories are going to be the dominant stories of the offseason. Where do these guys sign? Does Pujols come back to St. Louis or go somewhere else? And which one signs first? Does somebody blink? How many teams are there out there who can afford guys like Albert Pujols and Prince Fielder when you consider that the Phillies with Ryan Howard, the Yankees with Mark Teixeira, and the Red Sox with Adrian Gonzalez all have big ticket first baseman already.
And if the Brewers run the table and wind up having a parade at the end of the postseason, does that force Mark Antanasio to whip out his checkbook and keep him at home?
Pujols and Fielder, two of the big name free agents heading into this season. Jose Reyes is scheduled to be a free agent at the end of the season as well. So it might not be that deep of a free agent class, but certainly at the top you've got some great stars. C.J. Wilson is an example of a starting pitcher, very talented starting pitcher who's eligible for free agency at the end of the season.
CC Sabathia, if he opts out.
Yep.
He might opt out, but I think the Yankees will resign him.
So he'll be opting up.
Opting up, yes. Kind of like Alex Rodriguez did.
All right, give me your hunch. Is Albert Pujols a Cardinal in 2012?
No.
Wow. So we got the Giants in the playoffs. We got the Cardinals in the playoffs. And we got Albert somewhere else.
Well, I only say that because this is a great ownership team in St. Louis. There's a great fandom, but I don't think they can extend themselves to the point that they'd have to extend themselves to have Albert in uniform for the next 6, 7, 8 years. And therefore,
do you think he's a Cub or a Dodger? Think of the markets that can afford him.
I think there's markets out there that are going to be tempted, and I think there's going to be more than 3 for first baseman.
Washington.
Going to be fascinating to watch it unfold. The inning is over. Craig is homered again. It's now 5-0 Cardinals going to the bottom of the 8th. ESPN Sunday Night Baseball is presented by Taco Bell. After a rainout at Chicago Speedway today, the first race of the NASCAR Chase for the Sprint Cup will take place tomorrow at 12 Eastern right here on ESPN. Jimmy Johnson eyeing his 6th straight title. You can see it tomorrow, noon Eastern on ESPN. Jimmy Rollins with a high fly ball to center field for the first out in the bottom of the 8th. One defensive change for the Cardinals as Daniel Descalso has taken over at third for David Freese. The Cardinals now 5 outs away from a win that would bring them within 3.5 of Atlanta with a week and a half to go in the regular season. The rest of the Cardinals schedule, by the way, they'll finish up here tomorrow night. This is a wraparound series, a Friday through Monday 4-gamer. They have to face Roy Halladay tomorrow night. Victorino takes a strike. Then they will go home, 3 with the Mets, 3 with the Cubs, and then wrap it up with 3 at Houston.
If there's panic in Boston, and that's a 2, there could be panic in the National League side after tomorrow night's game. Be a 2.5.
Playable for Craig. Victorino retired. You mean if Atlanta continues to slide?
If the Cardinals win here tonight.
Yep.
The Cardinals win again tomorrow. Atlanta loses. We're at 2.5, and 24 hours later, we got 2 of these races going on.
Atlanta struggling recently. They finish up with Florida, Washington, and then the Phillies. We just told you the Cardinals schedule. Don't forget about the Giants, who have won 8 in a row, and they've still got 3 games left with Arizona. They are 5 back of Arizona in the National League West.
You talk about scoreboard watching, and then you really watch it inning by inning this time of year.
And the Giants, just like the Cardinals at the moment, 4 back of Atlanta. Cardinals have a chance to go to 3.5. Justin DeFreitas is up, a September call-up for the Phillies. Utley 2 for 3. Carpenter upset with himself. If you heard anything, that was Carpenter you heard, who didn't like his lack of execution on that curveball, one of his signature pitches.
One of the reasons he came back as a Cardinal, wants to retire a Cardinal, is because no half-stepping is allowed. As people in the Cardinal organization will say, meaning no half effort ever. And he is a highly competitive person. And Dan, you had him up there in Toronto when you were up there for a while.
Very extremely competitive. We did a game last year. Remember, Brendan Ryan was with the Cardinals, and I think he was a little bit late getting out on the field with his glove or something like. And Carpenter really got on him during the game. Carpenter is on game day.
Locked in,
yes,
as they say.
Yes, he is. Yeah, a very, very competitive guy. 6'6", 240. Was a hockey player as a teenager up in New Hampshire. You can imagine what a load he was coming down the wing. Ripped into right field. Third hit of the night for Chase Utley.
I think that was Chase's brother we heard in the background.
I think that's a very good fan who understands they need Chase Utley to swing like this if they're going to go very far in the playoffs. You see him much more in time on that swing, much better with starting with his bottom, finishing with his top. Guess those two ground balls that get through build confidence.
Here's Hunter Pence. One of the things that apparently has become a pretty good seller here in these parts since the acquisition of Pence is T-shirts that say Pennsylvania. Cute, huh?
Cute. Pence is tense. Could see it coming.
If one more guy gets on, we'll get a little stir in the Cardinal bullpen with 113 pitches down there. Got to remember that Carpenter is now 36 years old, still getting over 200 innings. Prides himself on the shape he keeps himself, but they're going to need him for 2 more big starts. They stay in this thing, and 5-0 lead. You'd think that you'd rather give the bullpen more room than less.
Working on a shutout, though, working on that confidence going into postseason. He has over 220 innings now at 9-9. Trying to get on the upside.
And he strikes out Pence to end the inning. 8 shutout innings for Chris Carpenter tonight. Join us Wednesday as ESPN continues its celebration of Hispanic Heritage Month. From Marichal to Clemente to Fernando, players who changed the game forever. A remembrance of their past performances and how their legacy inspired the stars of today. The Hispanic Heritage Game Wednesday night, 10 Eastern, in the second game of the doubleheader as the Rangers take on the Oakland A's. We go to the top of the 9th here at Citizens Bank Park in Philadelphia, along with Oral Hershiser, Bobby Valentine, Buster Olney, Pedro Gomez. I'm Dan Schulman. And we have a major league debut on our hands as right-hander Justin DeFreitas comes into the game for the Phillies. Called up just a couple of days ago from AAA Lehigh Valley. Started the year at AA. Was an 11th round pick by the Phillies organization back in 2007.
Those both fastballs, a 2-seamer and the 4-seamer. He's got a slider that he depends on, and very occasional change.
Going to face a tough, accomplished veteran hitter as he makes his major league debut. Lance Berkman will lead it off for the Cardinals here in the top of the 9th. First pitch swinging, high fly ball, deep center field. Victorino back, makes the grab just shy of the fence.
DeFreitas, you see that wry smile right there. You can get his heart out of his throat.
Whew, he said.
Oh my gosh, you work this long to get to the big leagues. You get the pitch, you get to throw your first pitch. He's watching, he's watching,
he's hoping.
Stay in here. Woo, I'm a big leaguer.
That's great.
I got an out.
Here's Yadier Molina. And he's popped it up.
Not quite as anxious on this one.
2 down on 2 pitches.
What took him so long to get him here?
He could tie a major league record in his first outing if he gets a guy out on this pitch.
But you know what we haven't had? A foul ball between somebody's legs.
You haven't been paying attention.
I have too.
You have?
Because you would have pointed it out to both of us if it happened. You said,
I mean, that
it's not over yet.
It's not over yet. I think I saw it. Let me
Oh, wait a minute.
Here's for call. DeFreitas, 2 pitches in the big leagues, 2 outs.
So the record can't be tied of getting 3 outs with 3 pitches.
They're going to make him work for it.
Yeah. No record book first appearance.
You could tie for second right here on this pitch.
Right-hander Fernando Salas is up now in the Cardinal pen. Tony La Russa and Chris Carpenter had a talk between innings, and it looked like, just looking at the body language, like Carpenter was going to get a chance to come back out. You can see he's still there. So Salas presumably throwing just in case Carpenter needs a little bit of help. Carpenter has 3 complete games on the season.
That might be he's done.
He's done.
Yep.
115 pitches. Strike over the outside corner, 3-1.
You don't go over and shake or knuckle the starting pitcher unless he's out of the game.
Way inside, ball 4. One thing the Cardinals did actually was move Carpenter up a day. He's not on short rest, but instead of getting an extra day, they moved him up to tonight. Kyle Loesch moved back a day to tomorrow, so that Tony La Russa, if need be, can have Carpenter go Friday, and then next Wednesday, the 28th, the last day of the regular season. So they'll try to get as much as they can out of the top guys in their rotation if those games are still meaningful in the last few days. So Loesch will start tomorrow night on a couple of extra days rest against Roy Halladay. Here's John Jay.
And I'm sure that's what that conversation was with Tony. Hey, I know you have all goose eggs up there. You have a shot at a shutout, but we have a shot at the playoffs, and we need as many bullets left in your gun as possible.
Bayer Advanced Aspirin is teaming up with David Cohn for the Speed Up Your Relief $1 Million Challenge. If 30 or more strikes of 100 miles an hour or faster are thrown in the majors between September 14th and 20th, Bayer will donate $1 million to the Red Cross. For more information, log on to speedupyourrelief.com.
Anything David Cohn's a part of, I want to be part of. He's one of the great guys in this game of baseball.
Cardinals up 5-0. Batting here in the top of the 9th in Philly. Justin DeFreitas making his major league debut. Misses way outside. Good stab there by Schneider, but the count is 2-2.
And Charlie's playing behind the runner at first. The runner's not going. It's 5-0 here in the 9th inning, and we're just playing that courtesy rules here. I guess 5's plenty.
I guess.
Must win.
I always thought it was like roller derby when you put your hands on your hips, call off the jam. Like no more points.
I mean, that means they're not going to try in the bottom half.
Grounded to third. And the inning is over. Welcome to the big leagues, Justin DeFreitas with a shutout inning in his major league debut. Getting close maybe to a little late dinner after the ball game. Geno Steaks, a fixture, an institution here in Philadelphia. As we go to the bottom of the ninth, the Cardinals are up 5-0. We've got some changes for the Cardinals as Corey Patterson takes over for Alan Craig in right field. Also a change in left is Adron Chambers comes into the game. September call-up, comes in left field for Lance Berkman. And on the mound is right-hander Fernando Salas after 8 terrific innings from Chris Carpenter tonight. Salas looking for the final 3 outs and a chance to bring the Cardinals within 3.5 of Atlanta for the wild card lead. Raul Ibanez for the Phillies. They'll be followed by Placido Polanco and then Ross Gload, the 5, 6, and 7 hitters. Phillies have had 8 hits tonight, but they grounded into 3 double plays. They've left 7 men on. Whereas the Cardinals took advantage of their opportunities. They've hit 3 home runs in this game, accounting for all 5 of their runs. Albert Pujols with 1 in the first, and then Alan Craig homered in the 6th and again in the 8th. Fly ball to left, and a play right away for Chambers, 1 down.
You know, Dan, you only have 1 debut, and it's one special moment when you finally get out there. And for Justin DeFreitas, after his shutout inning, he's greeted by the whole team. It's all smiles until you have a moment by yourself at the end of this, and that's when you get to finally breathe.
Yeah, you bite your nails a little bit, a little nervous.
If they get 5 runs, I got to go back out there.
If you weren't with us in the top half of the inning, the first pitch he threw to Lance Berkman went 400 feet to straightaway center field. Fortunately for DeFreitas, it's 401 to the wall, and it was caught by Victorino just shy of the fence.
The adrenaline's still rushing to his body. His hand is shaking. It is a moment that you have so much adrenaline in your body, you're not sure you can feel yourself. Everything is moving so fast. And they all can laugh about it because we've all been through it.
Many people ask me what my favorite moments are as a manager. They're always the first. The guy who gets his first hit, the first home run, the first out, the first strikeout. They're always special moments that you share with somebody else.
Patterson makes the catch for out number 2. He's still living in the moment, isn't he?
He might see the sunrise. He just can't wait to see tomorrow's paper. He'll get on the internet. He'll see that 1 inning. He'll see the 0 there. He'll see his ERA.
But don't forget an ESPN Major League doubleheader comes your way Wednesday night. The Rays and Yankees at 7 Eastern, then the Rangers and the A's at 10 Eastern. Doubleheader a week from Wednesday as well, the final day of the regular season. Then it's on to the playoffs. Every game can be heard on ESPN Radio beginning 1 week from Friday. The Phillies will be a part of it. The Cardinals are still holding out hope that they might be as well. 2-0 the count on Ross Gload. A strike. Charlie Manuel's team erupted for 9 runs last night after scoring 3 or fewer in 8 consecutive games. But they have been shut out thus far tonight. Gload will draw the 2-out walk. Tonight's Chevrolet player of the game, Cardinals starting pitcher Chris Carpenter. 8 shutout innings for him, hoping for win number 10 if Fernando Salas can get 1 more out. Brian Schneider will try to extend things for the Phillies.
It'll make him 9-2 since June 23rd. Continuing to produce.
Brandon Moss in the on-deck circle if Schneider can reach.
Oh. That doesn't feel good. Split finger, foul tip down the inner thigh. That stings. Feels like somebody's snapping you with a wet towel.
A little more than that. A little professional courtesy, though.
Yep.
Umpire making sure he's all right before he gets back behind the plate.
Gary Darling behind the plate.
Good job by Gary. Yeah.
And it's over. The Cardinals win it. And to move within 3.5 of Atlanta for the National League wild card lead. They will wrap up this series with the Phillies tomorrow night. Kyle Loesch against Roy Halladay. The Cardinals not out of it yet. A week and a half to go. And within 3.5 of a playoff spot right now. Albert Pujols homers. Alan Craig homers twice. Chris Carpenter picks up his 10th win of the season, and the Cardinals beat the Phillies 5-0. Sports Center is coming up next here on ESPN. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For Oral Hershiser, Bobby Valentine, Buster Olney, Pedro Gomez, and our entire ESPN crew, I'm Dan Schulman saying thanks for watching all season long, and so long from Citizens Bank Park here in Philadelphia.